What's going on? This is Nico, and you're on my YouTube channel. We're just gonna answer these questions. This is still the early stages of documenting where we're at. It's 2026. We're in the month of January. We're getting into the habit of building trust and doing it in a form and a way where we're taking a long plan. If you watch the first video, I mentioned that I'm not here to sell a course. I'm not here to try to sell you anything. This is just more so sharing my business, my breaking experience, and my early experience as a father and husband, and living in San Diego and trying to scale those things. I'm gonna be transparent. I'm gonna tell you plenty of my mistakes, plenty of my fuck ups. All I really want to achieve in this is, shamelessly, I wanna earn your trust. And also, I think I really wanna speak to someone that kind of grew up like me, someone that felt as lost as me when I was a kid. You know, hopefully my mistakes and my trials and what I've been able to achieve so far, someone can take away from that and they can do better for their life, and they can develop nice in a grounded way and realize that wherever you are, it's okay. Just start. That's all you got to do. You don't have to have everything together. You just have to start. So I'm just gonna head straight into the first question. And I think over time, we'll be able to repurpose these questions and put them into short form content so we can distribute it over all the channels. I'm not gonna hide, I'm not gonna do any secrets, because I'm obviously learning from other thought leaders, other influencers, other people in this media space. So yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We're starting from the top, long form content, and we're gonna chop it down. And hopefully we can impact and help out other people. Question number one. Nico, you lost your mom, grandpa, and brother-in-law all when you were 12. How did that make you learn to be strong and work fast? Well, it definitely taught me that life comes in seasons and it changes really fast. And it doesn't, life doesn't really show any mercy. I came from a place where my immigrant family from the Philippines, they worked really hard and strategic, and just had the right cards in place to get a house, build their family, reestablish their family and their purpose here in America, San Diego specifically. So I had no control over that, so I just feel grateful. Feels like a gold mine to be in this place. I think exactly at that time, my sister, all my sisters, right? I have 3 of them. They were all embarking on their own life stories. I have a brother, and he's always been doing his own thing. Where my dad was in his stage of grief or his stage of transitioning, because that was his father that passed away. And then 2 weeks later, his wife passes away. And then it's about a year, less than a year, that my eldest sister's brother, that was a strong male figure in my life, he passes away. It just felt so back to back that there was so much outside of our control, and there's not really much you could do about it, right? You can just survive, and you can lose your shit. You can get super emotional. And I think that's gonna be a theme, right? Getting emotional in better for good ways. Yeah, there's so much out of your control that you just can't do anything, right? You can lose composure and make everything worse, or you can do something about it, right? You're prompted with a choice. When there's that many people that are close to you, and there's that many people that mean so much in your life, and they're suddenly taken away or departing from this lifetime, you have those 2 choices. Are you gonna sink or are you gonna swim? And that's what I had to learn. And there's power that comes in that, and there's a lot of grief, and there's a lot of loneliness. I think that's what taught me to be strong, was I just had to make a choice. And the choice that I made was to be strong. Number 2, did dancing, breaking / b-boying help you forget sadness, or did it give you a place to let the sadness out? I think learning how to break and finding that moment that I would transition from, hey, this is one party activity that I saw at all my family parties, where people were either just trying handstands, trying to replicate Jackie Chan and Jet Li movies, or, Tony Jaa movies, where we're all trying to do headstands, handstands. From transitioning from that, trying to impress people, to getting to a point where I realized, whoa, this is actually something that I can find progression in, something that I can see pattern recognition and get better over time. I got obsessed with it. And the more I got obsessed with it, I realized that I was able to control my results through breaking, right? When it came to learning how to do a basic move like a flare or a windmill or a baby freeze, or learning some footwork, my form and my ability to do those things, they were dependent on how much I practice. They're dependent on whether I can do it while I'm hungry, while I'm sad, while I'm exhausted. And I think being able to fall in love and obsess over the progress of breaking, did it help me forget the sadness? No, I think it heightened it because it got me in tune with my emotions. It got me in tune with, being able to hyper focus on an activity and love that activity so much. I would hyper focus on it so much that it would heighten all these emotions from, wow, I'm really lonely. I've been practicing by myself for about 2 hours, all the way down to a lot of my friends and peers that are doing it. They either have opposite schedules or at the time they don't want to take this as seriously as I do. And I just got even more sad, right? But I was so hyper focused on making progress that I just kept going. I'd say that b-boying helped me realize that sadness is important, that grief is really important, that feeling isolated and knowing the edges and knowing the limits of what those things are, that they're important and they're just feelings, right? And it's up to you on what you want to do with those feelings. Question number 3, think about BC1. What was the one move that almost made you fall? I've fallen plenty of times at BC1 and I still haven't won a championship. And out of those BC1 experiences, whether it was losing in the first round or it was not even passing the qualifying round, or making it all the way to the finals, right? Getting into the top 2 of my West Coast region, getting to the top 2 of the West Coast, and getting to the top 2 of my country, the one thing that always made me fail and made me lose everything was emotion, right? It wasn't, there's literally moves that you can fall from, right? I've tried doing a 1990 spinning on my hand, comboing and doing, clapping in the air and landing in a stabbing freeze. I've fallen plenty of times in that competition. The thing that consistently makes you fall and not get the results of winning is literally getting emotional and letting emotion consume you, right? It's okay to be nervous. Even at the highest level I was competing, I was still getting nervous, right? Some of the top sales calls or, highest earning sales calls I've been on and highest performances, I've been nervous. Your stomach, you get butterflies, you feel uncomfortable, but not being able to properly address and regulate those emotions, those are the things that make you fall. And if you're watching this right now and you're preparing for a competition like BC1, or you're preparing for something at that level of competition, it's normal to feel exhausted. It's normal to feel, dismissive. It's normal to feel nervous. You just gotta do it, right? These are just feelings, and you can repurpose those things into excitement. You can repurpose those things into gratitude. You can repurpose that into calmness. It's just up to you to have the capacity to make a choice and make that choice either success or let it consume you and you just get too in your head and you overcomplicate things. So don't overcomplicate it. You're there for a reason. You're there to perform, do your thing, and treat it just like your first round, right? Treat it just like the round at home while you're training in your garage or your personal studio, or when you're in the practice of it, with your team. Whatever gets you in that place of serenity, that place of calmness, just bring yourself back there, right? It's just feelings. It's learning how to regulate your nervous system and learning how to regulate yourself. And then question 4, you've danced at events like Coachella over 8 times. The people watching have paid a lot. What did you see in their eyes that matched your own hunger? Well, it took a lot for us to get there, right? Whether you go there as a consumer, there's long waits, there's a lot of patience you have to deploy, and if you're living paycheck to paycheck, then you definitely have to budget accordingly just so you can get there, right? Unless someone buys you the ticket, you somehow have to finesse your way to get there. And something that I see in the eyes of people attending those events, whether I was performing on stage or I was down at the campgrounds, entertaining all the people around me, is that we're just present. And that's probably one of the most important things of climbing and performing and reaching that state of where you're supposed to be, is you just got to be present. Because if you're thinking too much in the future or you're thinking too much in the past, it's going to take away from everything that you're focused on. Yeah, having the privilege of being there is something that's just worth being grateful for. It's something worth just celebrating. Yes, working a lot gives a lot of great results. Working smart gives you greater results, but it's mostly about being present, because too many years I've been, so heavy in my work career. And even today, right, I have my wife as a supporter. She's constantly coaching me and she's constantly holding me accountable that it doesn't make sense to get bitter for people that aren't working at the same level or the same capacity that I am. It's nothing to be proud about to be working that hard, especially if we're not working smart. And yeah, it's a privilege to be working at this capacity because, you know, whether you think of higher beings, you know, I can now see this, that I've been granted being worth having this responsibility, right? I've been granted being worth being able to take care of people and build these systems to be able to, you know, help them take care of themselves, take care of their families. I digress from Coachella. I mean, the biggest thing I see that matched my own hunger to be there is just that we were present and we're ready to celebrate just life, being ready to celebrate moments, celebrate why we're here and how we got here. But okay, number 5, you built $1 million business once, then lost it all. What one mistake wiped everything out? Lack of skills, lack of management, lack of experience. All right, so let's elaborate a little bit more on building $1 million business one time and then losing it all. I mean, in short, not having skills or experience is going to cost you in the long run because you haven't been there long enough. And that's exactly where we were, right? We entered the tobacco industry, being able to obtain licensing, being able to properly, you know, abide by our state, abide by our government. That was probably one of the easier processes just because you followed the directions, right? But the moment that you walk into things like partnerships, family partnerships, you walk into understanding how to mitigate emotions, understanding how to balance and manage people's emotions. The moment that you're managing, you're in a different game, right? You don't just go in and you don't just sell, right? Because if you could sell, oh man, life would be so much easier. But now you have to think about all your partners allocating what they may think is fair for them. Everyone, for some reason, thinks that they're working harder than others. Other people, they have different values and they're coming from different places. And let alone, you have to learn how to negotiate, not only with products, not only with customers, but you have to learn things like lease negotiation. You have to learn things like negotiating with vendors, you know, letting them know that, hey, I'm here for the long term. I'm here to build a partnership. I want you to make money and I want us to make money, right? You have to learn those subtle things. You have to learn HR management, right? Especially if you're starting from scratch. How do you best, you know, lead people? How do you direct people on what to do without compromising who you are as a character? And you have to be able to be the example, but then you also have to maintain your mental health, which is the hardest part because, I mean, there's 7 to 8 roles that quickly pile up when you become a business owner. And, you know, we had a solid run with a winning product that was obviously bringing people in the door back to back to back. And, you know, we didn't know how to properly scale, right? We expanded to 3 locations when in reality, we should have just kept it at 1. Right? We thought we were doing the right thing because laws were changing. Let's open, you know, our location into another state because we have a family history of having business in another state. So it's possible, but different target markets, different seasons, and, you know, it really depends on how much tolerance you have to risk, right? Some people can continue running the shop by themselves. Some people can have people running the shop for them. And there's levels to that. And the one mistake that wiped everything out was just not having experience. Number 6, after that, you started the cafe and lounge. What new rule did you follow so money didn't disappear again? I mean, they started at the same time. And now being here half a decade later, right, we're in year 5 of operating the cafe. We're still in the baby stages. And I'm going to be transparent with you. Like, we still have debt. We still have people following me. We're still in a time and place where there's so much work to do. And I have to make a decision on whether I'm going to take responsibility for the decision that me and the collective group made at the time when starting these entities, right? And respectfully, I love everyone that's been a part of that partnership unconditionally. Some people decide to go separate ways, but there's still tasks and there's still responsibilities that are held under our name. So am I going to do the same thing and walk away from it? Or, you know, am I going to reestablish ourselves, take accountability for it, and take it head on? And I've decided to go in the fire. And that's exactly where I am. So to go back to the question, after that, you started the cafe and lounge. What new rule did you follow so money didn't disappear again? My response is to go straight in it, right? The money is still disappearing because this takes years and it takes levels of experience to be able to reverse that. And you can't really reverse it. You just have to find a new channel to rebuild. And the one new rule I had to follow was I had to keep transforming myself. I'm new to the game, and that's something I also learned in breaking is, for example, if in breaking you want to be successful in the competitive space, right? There's going to be countless times, no matter how good you are, that you're going to enter a competition. You're going to hope to get into the tournament or the bracket. So you do that qualification round, right? They call it prelims. And regardless of how much you train, you're still at the expense of a host, right? That event host or that crew that's hosting the event, they could be running 1-2 hours late. They could be running 4 hours late, depending on what country you're in, depending on what time zone you're in, depending on the conditions of the event. You're at the expense of 3 to 5 judges that are also human beings that make it emotional. They may be smoking weed in the parking lot. They may be late. They may not take this job seriously. And you're also at the expense of your choices, whether you decide to go to this event that has a history of being late or has a history of only voting for their crewmates. And, the number one rule is that you have to keep transforming yourself, because you could train so hard and not pass the first round. And that comes from experience, right? I remember there was one event that I was training for. I asked the host, okay, this is an interesting format, right? It's not your regular tournament. You have to qualify through dance ciphers. So there's circles for about 1.5 to 2 hours where you just got to keep going in, representing, showing clean rounds, keeping it short, showing that you're ready to go. And then there's 3 secret judges that are walking around. And those 3 secret judges, they'll let you know, hey, you're killing it in these ciphers. I'm gonna put you in the bracket, right? I remember I asked the host, I've seen people succeed at this event, and you're gonna be expected to do anywhere from 26 to 30 rounds. So you have to have 25 to 30 freestyled and relatively packaged rounds. Some people just prepare sets, if you're talking b-boy lingo, right? They have choreographed sets, but I'm more on the freestyle side. And I do like to have packaged rounds, so I am ready in the event that I need to throw a signature move. I need to throw something that, I know is going to work in response to someone else. But I remember training the hardest I ever have in my life. I doubled that amount that they said. They said you're probably expected to do 25 to 26 rounds that evening. So then I changed in my breaking regimen that I'm going to do 50 round practices throughout the week, right? So I have my packaging day, I have my planning day, I have my freestyle and fun day, and then I also have my discipline. I have to do 50 consecutive rounds, running my relatively packaged and freestyle rounds. I came in after a hard training camp that I assigned to myself. It was about 4 to 6 weeks. And I felt like I was at another level I haven't been before, right? Considering that my stamina was higher than before, my package rounds were sharper than before, and I could do them at round 49. I could do some of my hardest moves at round 36 in consecutive. It's almost like calculated sprinting for 30 to 45 seconds in 20-second breaks in small increments. So I was ready. And I remember making my rounds, doing the cipher qualification, even, bumping shoulders, bumping fists with some of the judges, with some of the people that may be judges or the people in the ciphers. And I didn't pass prelims, and, just like that, the number one rule that I've followed at this point, so money doesn't disappear. Again, you just got to be able to transform yourself, right? You have to be open to change. You have to be open to elevating your skills, because it's hard. Business shows no mercy. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you've been working hard. You just got to be able to change yourself for the better. In the event that, money starts to leak and it starts to disappear, you're lacking something, and it's most likely going to be skills, right? And it's most likely being able to adapt and change yourself. Number 7, now I help drivers with bad records get insurance, auto insurance specifically. Why did I pick the hardest customers instead of the easy ones? Niches get riches, and when I say that, I mean there's a business model that was already existing. Before I got into the industry, it was the closest connection I had to someone doing insurance at the time. So when I got into this industry, I was actually in it for life insurance. I was in it for Medicare, helping out the elderly get affordable insurance so then they can pay for their prescription drugs, so they can get financial assistance with their hospital stays. And I've seen testimonies of the commission structures and the payment structures being able to take care of their families and being able to take care of their communities. So I was about it. But as I got into the industry, the first office I worked in, it was commercial property and casualty. And yeah, when I first got into it, it was personal, commercial, and property casualty insurance, specifically auto insurance for high risk drivers. And it's just what I knew, and it's the first experience that I got. And the further I got into it, there was a book of business available to invest in. Someone was leaving the industry, so I said, why not? I'm already familiar, and there's a business model that works. And considering my experience, whether that was being previously in the tobacco industry, the vape industry, and leaving that after times got tough, being in the cafe industry or food service industry, and now this, I know that it doesn't really matter to me unless it's ethical, right? It doesn't really matter to me what industry I'd pick. As long as there's a business model that I can follow or a business model that obviously works, then, I'll deploy my work ethic. I'll deploy my ability to adapt into there. But right now, it's, providing people with an opportunity to connect with insurance that fits their budget, fits their needs, and fits their situation. A lot of people in the auto insurance space, and my clients specifically, they're just trying to get their things back together, right? They're trying to get their financial life together, and it usually starts with, being able to drive. And in order to drive, you got to have insurance. It's your financial responsibility to protect the people around you, at least, at minimum, in case you cause an accident. So that's my thing. I know people are trying to get their lives together, trying to get their financial lives together. So I just help connect them with the right insurance company that can help suit them. Everyone's situation's a little different. Some people, their insurance policies just cancel, right? They change cards and they need to find a new carrier. Some people get kicked out, or some people, they're going through a really tough time in their life. They need something more affordable because of the other big brand insurance companies. They end up booting them off or charging them way too high. So in order for someone to make it to work, take their kids to school, being able to get that part of their financial life and that life together, my job is just to help them find something affordable. When your baby girl came, bills went up. How did you balance family needs and business without stressing? Again, it comes back to change, being able to change, and being able to balance family needs and business money without stressing. If I'm stressing, there's obviously something wrong, and the thing that I needed to stop stressing about was my lack of skill, so I needed to get new skills. In other words, I had to join another industry, get another job, learn another trade, and that's the thing that got me out of that part of survival mode, right? When I found out that my wife, fiance at the time, was pregnant with our first daughter, we were just barely making it through the cafe. We stopped paying ourselves. We had to stop paying ourselves just because the vape shop was on the verge of closing. I was trying to make that one survive when we should have just tried walking away as early as we could the moment that the laws changed. But I tried to still abide by what, legalities offered in terms of the products we could sell to our market, and it just wasn't working. It wasn't a feasible business model to take care of a family, take care of employees. So I was working the vape shop, and I was working this cafe, and the margins at any food service facility are just normally so razor thin, right? You have to account for spoons, you have to account for lights, you have to account for chairs and cushions outside. It has nothing to do with coffee, right? You have to be able to accommodate for a whole atmosphere, and regardless of how hard you work, again, business shows no mercy. If you don't have a solid system, if you don't have a proper channel that can keep producing money and keep your margins above on a consistent basis, even when you're tired, even when you lose someone in your family, business shows no mercy. You just have to have your system so then you can keep going. But in order to break out of that, I had to learn a whole nother set of skills outside of what I was already doing, right? Every waking hour, I was pretty much working, and I had to find a way to get more skills. And when I found out that I could get into the insurance industry, I had to find a way to sneak in as many opportunities to get more skills, and that usually happened while I was doing dishes at the cafe, right? While I'm cleaning, while I'm in the hallway reorganizing all of the clutter and inventory, removing the clutter and restocking inventory at the cafe, I had to figure out how to like keep my AirPods in or keep my headphones in and just listen to a whole licensing course on how to become an insurance agent. And it just happened in slow increments, right? While I'm doing dishes, I had to learn how to read contracts. I had to learn how to read, do risk assessment. I had to learn how to underwrite. I had to learn all the basics of issuing and, providing someone with insurance. And over time, it just compounded, right? Thankfully, I had, 3.5 years of business experience at the time. So I realized that the ability to change, learning how to learn fast had to happen. So thankfully that helped my learning process a lot faster. But yeah, being able to balance family needs and business money without stressing, it all came back down to being able to learn fast. Being able to learn at volume, learn different things at volume, but speed is everything. Number 9, you lead teams, pay people, run businesses every day. How do you stay calm and keep going even when things get really hard? When it comes to leading teams, paying people, and running businesses every day, I think I mentioned in the other clips that when you are in the field of managing, you're in a completely different ballgame from just performing the one task, right? It's almost like you're spinning plates. And if you have to learn how to spin another plate, you have to look back and make sure that the other first plate doesn't go down. And it's tough. It's draining on your mental health if you're managing. And the ultimate thing that you have to do is build a system, right? You have to build expectations. You have to establish values. And if you don't establish those things, a system, a set of values and guidelines, then you're stuck managing. You're stuck micromanaging. You're stuck being on every single person saying, hey, that's, fix the way you deliver that line, fix the way you do this, rather than having a set list of guidelines, expectations, or system like standard operating procedures. If you don't have those things, then you're gonna burn out really, really fast. And the crazy thing is of where I am today is I'm just rebuilding those SOPs right now. I'm 5 years in, and I'm not proud of how hard I've worked because I've worked so hard. I'm more proud of how smart I've been able to work, and that's doing the most obvious thing. I wish it was right in front of me, but I think I just had to experience it, right? I had to feel what hard work feels like so I can understand how painful it is and how I can direct my future team and I can direct my teams on how not to do what I've done. I want everyone on my team and whoever may be listening, I want you to be better than me. I don't want you to burn yourself. I don't want you to, go through the mental anguish that I've voluntarily put myself with. Maybe not the anguish part, but the hard working part. I don't want you to go through what I've gone through. And yeah, the way to stay calm and the way that I do it these days is, it's so simple. It was right in front of me, but it's being grateful, right? My wife sent me a video just the other day that spoke to me that, the weight that you carry as a father, as a husband, and as someone that's like scaling business and getting better and making progress, helping pay for people's livelihoods, helping build systems that can take care of families and take care of my own, it gets so heavy sometimes. But I think it's because I'm expecting a certain reward. I'm expecting a certain result. But I think the thing that I need to reground myself in, because it's, the responsibilities of all that weight is always going to be there. Even when I'm dead, someone's going to have to take on those responsibilities. Even when I'm sick, right? I've been working through a fever and like a small cold in these last 2-3 days. And no matter how under the weather you're feeling, business shows no mercy, and it's still gonna hold the expectations that it needs to be managed, right? But the thing that can keep me sane through all of this is just being grateful that I have the opportunity, right? Someone like me that started from just dancing in the streets, someone that started from dancing with no money, making negative monies, right? Like literally getting my net worth down by continuing to keep dancing rather than working on the business. And now having the responsibility to manage and operate these systems, I've been granted the worthiness. I've been granted the ability to have that much capacity in my mind, right? I'm now grateful to be that person that can solve problems, right? Again, we have choices, and we can either sink, we can swim, we can walk away, and you can make the rest of the team bitter, you can make whoever's left in the business really bitter. And I've been on both sides, right? I've walked away, I've been on that team, I've stayed on that team. I've seen both sides, but the thing that keeps me calm is my ability to just be grateful that I now have the skill set to solve problems. I now have the skill set and the capacity to, adjust, to make the decisions when they're really ugly, when we don't want to, when plenty of people don't want to, and I'm the last person in the room. To realize that in the big scheme of business, there's plenty of other people that are dealing with the same things as me. So that's why I'm trying to connect with my fellow business owners. I'm trying to connect with the people that want to become business owners or that want to be entrepreneurs, or even the B-boys and B-girls like me that just had to grow up, right? You had to stop bullshitting around, you know, realizing that breaking and battling and competing and ciphering is super fun. But if you're trying to take care of a family and you're trying to do something for yourself and scale beyond the cipher is always going to be there. I'm always going to be at heart. And I think the moment that I stepped away from breaking, the moment that I stepped away from competing as a b-boy, was the moment that I realized that I'm probably the most truest form of a b-boy I am at this time, right? Thankfully, I have extra credit for my 17 to 18 years of breaking, that I have compounded ability that 1-2 weeks, I can get back into competitive shape. I'm thankful that my body can do that right now. But right now I decide that I don't want to compete. I don't want to get in the mix of, you know, ciphering or competing and battling, dance fighting with other grown men. And at this time, I really just want to be a leader for my family, and I welcome that responsibility. I welcome that ability to, you know, change myself no matter how painful it is. So the short version, I lead teams, I pay people, I run businesses every day. How do I stay calm and keep going when things get really hard? And it's just by deploying gratitude. 5 years from now, this is question number 10. 5 years from now, who's watching? Kids who lost someone close, or grown-ups who lost their business? 100% both. That's who exactly, I think, who we're trying to target here, is the people that need to grow up, right? The people that need to make a choice. Yeah, we've lost someone. It sucks, it's painful, it's lonely, and 100% it's never not gonna be lonely, but we have to make a choice on who we wanna welcome, what we want to welcome. And if you're a grown-up who just lost your first, third, fourth, fifth business, one, you may need to consider getting a job and building a business again, right? You gotta just own up to it. And I don't want to tell you what to do. You don't have to listen to anything I say, because who am I? I'm only on my second video here on YouTube. But yeah, you just gotta make a choice. Sink or swim. That's probably the biggest theme here. And the choice that I'm gonna do is, I wanna swim, I wanna make a boat, I wanna make a very large boat, and I wanna build a highway so then we can at least just drive from point A to point B, make things easier, right? It's fine. You know, it's one thing to have problems, but it's another thing to have solutions, right? And that's the side that I want to pick, is I want to be on the side with solutions. We can come up with so many problems possible, but I'm not here to complain. I'm here to, you know, acknowledge that there's this thing in time, whether it's not going in the direction we want, but if it is, awesome, and if it isn't, then let's come up with a solution. But thanks for watching the second video. I appreciate that you're patient with our candid nature, just because I don't want Rigo to, you know, edit too much. We'll throw this into an AI software or something, so then it's just chopped up and we can put it into smaller forms. But I'd rather just give you as raw as possible, this long 47-minute clip. Hopefully we can reduce it so it's like, you know, 30 minutes or 25 minutes. But thank you guys for watching. Since this is new to me, go ahead and subscribe so we can keep producing and have the opportunity to make more videos. If this video obviously sucks, then maybe we need to change and we need to make adjustments, but hopefully I've been able to provide you with some value. If you haven't already, check out my Instagram, Nico Spins, and we'll see where these videos take us. Peace.